Mr. Chenoy, thank you for being here today. Welcome.
Thanks.
First of all, let's start with your key takeaways from your session.
So, if you look at the session on regulation in India for enabling the sector, I think the first big takeaway was that looking at how do you start with the premise of regulation? Do you start with the negatives of destability, etc.? You start with the positives of of what the industry could be. And the key takeaway was that we need to begin regulation framing by looking at the positives and the benefits and the opportunity of the $1 trillion that the Web3 space could actually get going forward.
Okay. Now, Web3 is a very nascent sector, still a long way to go as far as India is concerned. How do you see that evolution take place in the years to come?
So Web3 is multiple things, right? It's a combination of different things. So if you see the largest thing which has happened in India, which is actually causing the concern, is the trading and the exchanges and all that has happened here. But if you look at the other space in gaming, right, whether the non-fungible tokens, things like that, you see it in a different actually space. Metaverse presence there, companies have started. Harbinder, when he was talking in his opening statement, talked about the real estate companies showing you to experience that. So metaverse, then the blockchain is taking a different focus, not necessarily purely Web3 blockchain, but whether it is caste certificates in Gadchiroli, or whether it is the FIRs in UP, or the birth certificates in Bengal, or the regulatory sandbox in Telangana. A lot of different things are happening in India. But I think, it's all kind of sitting on the fence, waiting for which way the regulation would go. And if you have good regulation coming in India very, very quickly, then you would see this space explode. And the best part about Web3 is about getting local people and content. So if you see in your awards that you'll be presenting later, there are companies that have enabled creators to put their content on the web and earn revenue themselves, bypassing the centralized things like, whether Google, Facebook, or YouTube, etc.
Right. Now, you mentioned trading is a big concern right now. Security is a big aspect. It's a big area of concern as far as Web3 and blockchain are concerned. Do you think regulation will be able to bolster that front?
Actually, this is a very interesting question that you've asked. The very nature of blockchain actually traces every aspect of Web3. So traceability is 100%. Okay, and if you see organizations like Chain Analysis and others, they're enabling you to trace it. And what is the challenge in terms of security is that once the deal has been done, there's no reversing it. So if you have been scammed, or if you've been fished, or whatever it is, it's very difficult to actually retrieve that money. Second is that from the individual's perspective or country's perspective, if you talk about money laundering and terrorist financing and all, again, because it is actually identity, the identity is not revealed, but there are ways to actually trace that to go. So private security and looking at digital identities is the next step there. So there are three aspects of security that I talked about. One is security of your trade. Second is the security of the kind of a nation in terms of money laundering and financing of terror. And the third is your individual digital identity security.
Okay. Now you mentioned this, but I think that's also the issue, because the government has an issue with decentralization. The core essence of Web3 is decentralization. Do you think that is something that can be solved in the future, or no?
See, there is a solution, right? Depends on what you want to solve for. So what should the government be concerned with? The government should be concerned with, if you're an investor, how do you ensure security of your investment, right? How do, because everyone currently talks about FTX, and everyone conveniently forgets the banks that have failed, right? So how do you, from the government's point of view, how do you protect the investor? How do you make sure that the companies in this segment, the exchanges, are actually transparent and doing stuff there? And the third concern that the government has is, again, the money laundering and the tax evasion and the financing of terror. All three can be solved very, very easily. In fact, the CEO of the security organization actually came up with a thing that there needs to be a greater public-private partnership. I think BW is willing to work with the government to actually address these three concerns. They can be addressed very easily.
Thank you so much, sir, for being here and for sharing your insights with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please enjoy the event.
Thank you.